Hey mask nerds, welcome back to another mask review video. I'm Aaron. I have been using real scientific equipment to test and evaluate mask performance. I happen to use my bathroom because it's the smallest room, but I've been on a hunt for the best mask to protect you from COVID. I've tested a lot over the last couple months and I haven't had a review video in a while, so I figured I'd kick it off. This will unfortunately probably be the last review video I do for a while, as I'm going to turn down my mask testing. The weather's getting nice here, and I'd like to get back to a little bit of regular life for a while. So I'm going to turn that mask testing down a little bit. But today's video, we're going to cover a couple topics. I'll review some masks as well as some topics like fake N95s, 3M N95s that are out there. They've been floating around. I got a few of them. We'll talk a little bit about that. How to vet suppliers. Since I'm not going to be testing a bunch of masks, people are going to be curious, like, how can I source and where can I look for masks? We'll talk about how to vet suppliers, where we should be looking for masks, and just general stuff that I found in this testing. And then the third is all the fancy masks, things that are battery powered, things that have UV lights. We'll talk about what all that means and why, in the end of the day, they're probably not, they're always limited by the same principles that all masks are. And we'll talk about that as well. All right, so let's jump in. I got a couple masks right here. Let's see, and I got to just double check because they're actually really hard to tell which is which. In fact, I can do I smell. One of them has a 3M has a very distinct smell. So the one on the right is a real mask on my right, and then it'll be on your left. And this one is fake. And you look at them, and I'll use my camera to adjust the focus here, so just 1 second. It is really, really difficult to tell. Again, top is real, bottom is fake. You look on the back. I mean, they look nearly identical. How would anyone ever have known this if you didn't have a quick test equipment? There are some subtle differences in terms of print and typography, and most of specifically the headbands. They used rubber headbands on this versus the 3M uses this crazy, like, I don't know exactly what kind of material it is, but it has like this nice uniform stretch, whereas this is like very stretchy, like a rubber band. So getting it on was quite difficult. But it highlights that these are fakes floating around. So a reminder, avoid Amazon, eBay, and Etsy. They're going to be the source of the fakes. And I think some of the fakes that we'll talk about today even made it into the actual distribution supply chain. That had like hospitals and stuff were using them. So, I mean, they're really good. Now, it turns out they actually do have filter media in this. There's just, the fake ones had really crappy filter media. So they had like about 95% versus the 99.9 that I normally get with this. And it was like 3 times as hard to breathe in. So it's a reminder, do not use Amazon, eBay, and Etsy. I have a couple more examples here. These are 1860s. Now, this is a real 1860. This is a fake 1860. And this is another fake 1860. I mean, I'll get the focus here. Let me adjust the focus. There we go. I mean, so again, this is a real one. This is a fake one. I mean, they look identical. The text, I mean, there's some subtle differences, but you know, all of these, I mean, it's blowing my mind how much work someone went in to make a fake. Now, again, they did have filter media in them, but again, lower, much lower quality than the actual real 3M 1860 media. You can go my test data below. I think I got about 95% on some of these, whereas I was getting like 99% with these. And the pressure drop again was higher. So, I mean, it's incredibly how close they are. You could not tell that. I could understand, like these fakes, I know, I saw the notification that 3M had notified that there were hospitals that were using the fakes. They look so legitimate, you could not tell. And I guess they came in pack. I didn't get the actual boxes, but I guess they came in boxes that looked identical too. So it highlights to me that I thought I was going to find a lot of fake KF94s out there, but I kind of used the same kind of suppliers like Be Healthy, Collect, or Everyday Beauty Lab, and Yes Mask, and a bunch of others. But in general, so I kind of avoided the fake stream. I tried to look a little bit. I ordered some from Amazon, some buttons from Amazon. They were so clearly fakes, they weren't even buttons at all. They were just like some other random mask that some Chinese supplier shipped. So no one in the right mind would have thought that was a fake button. What does surprise me is that the fake 3Ms. But I did warn it last time, you know, my last video like a month ago, that fake 3M mask would be, you know, they had done it in the past and they'll do it again. So reminder, do not buy Amazon, eBay, or Etsy for any masks. That's where the fakes live because that's where they're going to get sold into. People always ask me, like, where's the best place? 3M's going to tell you to buy through an authorized 3M distributor. That still means that they're very difficult to get to hold of. There are some gray markets. I have tested some masks from Well before. They were legit. But again, they can be susceptible to the same thing where you have like masks that look so dang identical and that test, if you're not paying attention, they test to pass an N95 standard. You don't notice that they're much poorer of a mask than the 3M equivalent, so some people may not catch that. So how do we source masks now that I'm not here testing a ton of masks all day? Well, I think the key thing is, for my test data that I collected, I think we tested like something like, I tested like in the last thing like 40 some plus masks, KF94 masks. All of them were real. The basic answer is, if you can verify that your mask is coming out of South Korea, then the probability of getting a fake is incredibly low. Use suppliers that I've vetted, Be Healthy, Collect, Everyday Beauty Lab, Yes Mask. If you go through that list, I always have the suppliers that go to my database below. There's a supplier list all the way to the right-hand side. Use that. So basically, I've tested like 40-something masks. Not a single one of them fake. All of them have really good performance. I mean, some are worse and some are better, and we'll talk about the better ones today. But in general, that's the way to do it. I also, if you're buying in the US, NIOSH N95 is always going to be a good safe bet. There's a ton of manufacturers out there. I'll talk a little bit about them today. That's another good option. I would probably avoid, anything, again, Amazon, eBay, Etsy. Avoid the stuff that's on there. There's tons of US-based manufacturers. If you look at my database, Lutima, Well Before has their masks. There's like a ton of good options out there. So look back at my previous videos. But in general, avoid Amazon, eBay, and Etsy. If you're getting KF94 straight out of South Korea, I have yet to find a fake. And we'll talk a little bit about some other places that I've ordered from today as well. So that's the other thing. Okay, the last thing I want to talk quickly about is a lot of people ask me about the Gizmos and Gadgets. Battery powered, I'll throw some pictures up, like the LG made one. There's a UVC light version, which I'll stick a picture up, of all these fancy masks. And the reality of all of these masks, and the leaf mask, I think that's like a clear mask. I haven't seen the test data for it, but you're going to see all these technologies. And that's because they started about a year ago to create some crazy mask. And it takes you from the product development to deployment to all that marketing, all that stuff, about a year. And so you're going to see them start flooding the market. And the reality is that all of them require, even the UV mask, it has a filter media material into it. It has, I think, a 22 millimeter like HEPA or like a N95 media. The reality is what you're looking for in a mask that's easy to breathe in is good quality media and lots of it. The more of it, the better. That's why there's like the Moldex Airwave. I'll put a picture up there. The Moldex Airwave has like all these ripples. They're just trying to increase the surface area. The more surface area you have, the easier it is to breathe in. So all these fancy filters, you're just having a standard, at best, a standard mask that we've tested in these videos, and then they add a gizmo on top of it that weighs more, that's noisy, that muffles your voice. I don't think they're going to be worth the money. I have yet to see one that I'm like, okay, that's a good idea. Are there a bunch of things out there? Yes. Does the UVC light work? And in my opinion, I have yet to see any test data that show it does work. The issue with UVC light is it can kill the virus, but it takes time. And when you breathe in a second, I breathe in almost a liter of air in like a second, right? So how are you going to sterilize all that air that fast, right? And that's an entire liter. So you have a dispersed group of aerosol in there that you need to sterilize the entire thing in less than in a fraction of a second. So the reality is you can't. So I just think the UVC stuff doesn't really make sense for air because it's transit time. The amount of time you have it through the UVC time is very short. Now there's techniques they're trying to get around. They have like a swirling chamber where they expose it. But again, the transit time is very, very short, or you need like crazy intense UVC, and UVC can damage skin if you get outside of certain wavelengths. So they're just not worth your time. So, all right, let's jump into the mask reviews. Just a reminder again, I had tested a ton of masks. Take a look at the Google Drive link below. There's a ton more masks in there. I tested all kinds of KF94s. Product Lab was one of them. Happy Life. I had featured some of them in my previous review. So if you look at my top picks, check out that previous video. I do have some ones that are just below my top pick that didn't make the cut, and I'll talk about them today. But in general, if you want to know about all the other masks I tested, link has them below. If the data is the data. I didn't find any fakes in the KF94 space, so it just highlights to me like South Korea, you're doing a bang-up job on making masks. So I want to talk a little bit about one of my favorite masks that has become one of my daily drivers, but a little hard to get. This is the Cleanwell KF94. What's cool about this mask is they are colored. This is a nice blue one that I have. The problem is you can only get them from, there's a few sites, but I'm going to recommend Beauty Box. Korea. Beauty Box is the company's name. They're a Korean cosmetics just like exporter out of South Korea. They do Korean stuff, but they also have some of these. Now they're hard to get, but here's why I like it. It's blue and it breathes really, really easy. So I got my data here. So the Cleanwell as worn, I got 99.5%. So what a great number. Pressure drop, it's like Mask Lab. This mask actually reminds me a lot of the Mask Lab masks. I got 0.22 inches of water pressure drop. It's roughly the same size as the Mask Lab, not adjustable ear loop, stuff like that. It's colored. It breathes super easy. They have an awesome nose wire. I would argue that the nose wire is maybe a little bit better than Mask Lab. It's a little stiffer and it's super long at 85 millimeters. 89 millimeters, almost 90 millimeters long. So it's like It's one of my daily drivers now too. So it's a great mask. The only reason I didn't make it because it's a little hard to source. You're ordering direct for South Korea. It takes like 2 weeks to get here. But wow, they are really cool. And they have a ton of colors. They have gray. They have, I think it's mostly fall colors. So I'm guessing just the timing between when they made them and when we were getting them. But really awesome. The other option is if you like colored masks, CommaComma. These come out of Collect. These are the masks. And again, remember the button here is added by me. This is a test port. You're always looking at the mask that I tested. So this is the Collect. They come in packs of 5, which is a little different. So this is actually a pack of 5 masks. They're pink. I just picked the pink one. I had some other colors like orange and white and blue. But just like any other KF94, this one came in at 98.1%. 0.29 inch pressure drop, so pretty typical for a mask. So it made it my list just because it has a cool coloring. I mean, if you really like pink, it's a little bit on the bigger side than other masks, or roughly on same size. Actually, I shouldn't say that. It's roughly the same size as like the larges from everyone else. Good nose wire. It's 84 millimeters and good and stiff. So another option if you're looking for colored masks. And again, that's CommaComma. Remember, supplying information is available both on the Google Drive, and usually I'll toss a link in the description of the video as well. Okay, to add on to that, one mask that, just between the clean top and this would have been a fight. This is the blue 3D. This is a really, the blue mask has been on my recommendation for a long time. It's a little bit on a larger size. So that's, I wouldn't necessarily start here, but it's a good mask. They're getting really cheap. I think I'd get them for like $1 now, which is crazy because last time I was talking about this, I was talking about expensive cheap masks for $2.50. Now they're $1. This one came in at 99.7% filtration efficiency, 0.31 inch pressure drop, and it has a moderate to stiff. That's the only thing that I don't like about it, and why the clean top got the recommendation the last round versus this one is that the nose wire just is not as stiff. And that was the only thing that was hurting it. But otherwise, it's a great mask. It's black, but it doesn't have adjustable ear loops. But they are really cheap and good media. Again, I think if you watch my live stream of all these reviews, I got pretty tired of testing KF94 because I was like, yep, another KF94 is good. Yep, another KF94 is good. One other additional in the KF94 space for the smaller faces is the clean top medium. So they released a medium, and actually it's kind of cool. I think that the clean top largers are going to start seeing it too. They have adjustable. Now this might be really hard, so I'm going to try to get the camera to focus on it. There's a little adjuster right here, which lets you change the length of the ear loops, which is kind of cool. So that's actually adjustable ear loop. Now, this is very much like the standard clean top. It's just tiny. It's listed as medium, according to this, as I understand Korean, but, and my Korean isn't perfect, it is small. It is the same size as the Botan Kids mask. So it's basically what I would kind of argue is that, and here they are on top of each other, it's basically like the Botan's Kids mask. So I would argue that what this effectively is a kids mask, or like if you have a small face, this might work too. Again, I mentioned it many times before. A bigger face can wear a smaller mask. It's sometimes harder to install like this, but in general, you can wear a bigger mask. It just, as soon as you talk, your jaw pops down. So this is like a kid's mask. So, but if you're looking for a smaller mask or you're looking for a kid's mask in black, because I know some kids are looking for colors, they don't want the boring white, this might be an option for them. KF80 space. Now, KF80s, I think this comes to a much broader discussion about masks in general. Do we really need KF94? And KF94 standard is actually more stringent than the NIOSH N95 standard, and it's very similar to the FFP2 because there's a paraffin oil test on it. So typically what we find is when we're testing with salt, KF80s still do much better than 80%, just like the KF94s do much better than 94% with salt. And that's because the paraffin test of that, the paraffin oil test, actually makes it a lot harder to pass. But in other words, FFP2 is a better standard. KF94 is better than the NIOSH N95 standard. So let's jump into it. So I got two options here. So why would we go KF80? Breathability. I still think you're going to compromise a little bit of protection. The question is, in terms of COVID aerosols, is it really meaningful? I can't say for sure. So if you're ever concerned about, just err on the side of more protection, that's fine. I've been starting to look for more breathable masks. I think that's where mask wearing is going to go, is more breathable options. So I figured I'd start with some KF80s just to kind of get a baseline. So I tested the blue KF80. This one came in at 93.6% filtration efficiency. But here's the kicker, 0.2 inch water pressure drop. It's like probably one of the lowest ones other than the clean top. I mean, this thing is super easy to breathe in. So, is that trade-off really worth it? And remember, I use a really small test aerosol, so if we would try to extrapolate this to 0.5 micron particles, point or 500 nanometer particles, you know, I think they're going to do a lot better. But I don't have the data to say that for sure. So if you want to be very risk adverse, use a KF94. If you're really looking for breathability, KF80s might be a good option on you. And this is a really nice one. It's blue. It's the same size as all the other masks, but just much easier. I mean, it is noticeably easier to breathe in. You know, about 30% more breathable than that. I also tested the clean top version of this. Now, this is also an excellent mask. And here's the kicker and why I probably like this one better. It's in black. It has that good stiff nose wire and just the same breathability. So for the clean top KF80, I got 97.1% filtration efficiency and 0.2 inch pressure drop. So if I had to choose between the two of them, so far it seems like this one has a little bit better media in it for the same pressure drop. So in other words, I'd get 97 versus 93 for the same 0.2 inches of water pressure drop. Remember, pressure drop is what the restriction to breathing is. It's our cost for filtration. So this is a better deal. So super breathable. Really like it. Might be another option if you're looking for more breathable masks. This is what I'm going to be looking at post-vaccination, which hopefully will happen soon. So I'll be jumping down to KF80s, just really focusing on breathable masks. All right, so that was what I found in the KF80 space. Now, I also tested some masks that are kind of interesting, because a lot of people have asked about the Vogmask. I always kind of held reservations about this mask, only because it was so expensive. Not that I had an issue with it or didn't believe the data that they had. It was just, they were like, at the beginning of the pandemic, $30 or almost $40 for one of these. And I thought, you know, I found KF94s that are a fraction of the price. And sure, it's reusable, but I can buy 10 buttons for the same price as one of these. But I figured someone had sent it to me to test. So this is the Vogmask VMC in large. Came in at 90.6% filtration efficiency as worn. If I, with a pressure drop of, sorry, I gotta get my data here, with a pressure drop of 0.34. So, you know, at 0.34, it's really not that much better than any KF94. In fact, for the pressure drop and filtration efficiency, it's not that much better. It also has mask claps, so you know, sucks to my lips. Otherwise, but it does have a good nose wire. I'll give them that. Like, they put a nice, good, heavy gauge nose wire in this kind of design. So the pressure drop's not too bad, about 0.34. So it's like it's on the same as a KF94, but in a KF94 for that same pressure drop, I could get 99% filtration efficiency. So, you know, if I held it to my face to really seal up all the leaks, I could get up to 95.5, but that came at the cost of almost 0.6 pressure drop, which tells you that there is a lot of air leaking around the mask. So is it worth $30? I think they're coming down in price. You know, my opinion is it's protective, not necessarily the most cost-effective option. I also tested another variety of that style. Someone was interested in trying this. They actually purchased it for me, and I know they paid like $25 or $30 to send this to me, so thank you. But they'll get that money back, effectively. So this is the HaloMask. Now, the HaloMask uses a mask insert inside of this, like nanopore or nanofilter media insert. Now, it's an insert, so that's kind of the first problem. So as worn, the HaloMask, I got 70%. All right, not very good. Tons of leakage. And again, when you have this insert, there's nothing to stop the air from going around the insert, and the insert has pressure drop. So what's happening is air is going around this mask that's skipping the insert. And so I got about 70% filtration efficiency at 0.22 inch pressure drop. So pretty low pressure drop, but also low protection. Now, if I do this and cover it all up, I still have the same pressure drop, roughly. I got about 0.33, and my filtration efficiency didn't change, 67.4. And that's just because I reduced the area that the leakage could happen, but I think it's still leaking past the media. So it highlights like mask insert type masks, like this design, the filter media inserts into the mask. I'll show you here if I can get it on camera. So the filter is inserted into the mask. And then what that means is that there's nothing to seal it against the edges of the mask. And of course, this is a black mask, so it's gonna be hard to pick up. Let's see if I can get it on video. There's nothing to prevent it from just leaking around the media. And that's kind of the problem with these style of masks. Is it better than just a standard cloth mask? Absolutely. Is it worth 30 bucks? You know my opinion. All right, in the N95 space, I had a couple interesting things. Now you'll see it maybe in the preview of the video. One of the masks that I tested is a company called Airgami. They're based out of Colorado, I believe. And they've made now this is not a NIOSH approved N95, but it is an N95 test against standard. It's a cup style, and they folded a bunch of the material. Now in my tests, I think it fit pretty well. I had a little bit of a leakage issue around the nose, and I still kind of can get that. I had talked to Richard, the owner of it, and they kind of walked me through this little folding technique. So it's kind of nice. It's definitely a unique mask. This is the green. They sent me a couple of them. This is the green one, just because it's more interesting than just showing you the white one. Ear loop style. They also have a headband style. super breathable. So I think this particular mask, the Airgami, came in, this one as worn with this little bit of a fixed to the nose bridge. It got 97.9% filtration efficiency at a really awesome 0.17 inch pressure drop. It's kind of it's a unique design. They focus on super breathable mask, and I got to give them credit to that. I think my only complaint has been, and they're already looking into this, adjusting the ear loops to go to like a little bit of a thicker material, go to like some better headbands if they're going to do headbands, just tweaking some of it, go to just a little bit more user comfortable stuff. The only complaint that I have is one of the things that's really nice about this mask is it's cool design. I'm not sure the fashion is, in terms of looks. I go for a really subtle kind of, I don't want everyone to notice I'm wearing a mask, but if you're looking for something that stands out, definitely it. One of the things I really noticed that I think is a great part of this design is that it moves really well with the jaw. So it's easy to talk in and I don't feel like I'm muffled. There's no mask collapse to the face. My only complaint is the bellows section where this kind of thing all folds together, which is how they make this mask. Let's see if I can get it on camera here. There's like this little bellows section. My only complaint is that the bellows section kind of can get a little scratchy against your face. That's kind of my only complaint, and they're a little spendy. I think they're running around $25 or $30 or something like that. They are reusable. They have some good thermal, they can microwave them to sanitize them, so which is kind of cool. But if you watch my channel, I recommend just letting them sit for a few days. I don't think that's going to be possible with a mask like this because it costs so much that you wouldn't want to probably have 5 of them around, so sanitizing is probably valuable. But it's a cool design and try to help a little company here. I also tested a bunch of other NIOSH N95s, and I'm going to start with the ones that I like the most, and then we'll move to just some interesting discussion. So if you're after a NIOSH N95, now I've covered a lot of other ones, 1870s and stuff like that. Some of the ones that I found that I haven't talked about in videos that are kind of a little bit easier to source right now is the 3M 9502. And they make it in both the NIOSH approved version, and I talked about this in my other latest mask review video, and I'll just talk a little bit more about it now. So the 9502 comes in a NIOSH or a KN95 style. And to be honest with you, the difference between the two of them, there's really no noticeable pressure drop difference. But what I liked about this mask relative to, let's say, the PowComm is it's really breathable. And that's kind of thing. So if you like PowComms, my recommendation would be the 9502, either the NIOSH or this one. The NIOSH is actually starting to get a little bit easier to get in the US right now. These are a great option. Headbands are good. Everything's really solid. Some people have asked, why not the 95? Oh, and let's run through the data on that. Sorry. So 3M 9502 came in at the NIOSH approved as worn 99% filtration efficiency, 0.32 inch pressure drop, so really good. It highlights that 3M, N95 is not the gold standard, 3M is. 157 by 105. They also make a 9501, which is ear loop only. Do not recommend. The reason that I don't recommend the ear loop, it may seem more convenient, the ear loops are really short and they pull really hard on your ears. They are not very comfortable in the ears. Stick to the headband version of these. So I really like these. They came in. The Honeywell is also another good option. And sorry, the 9502 kind of looks like this. This is the NIOSH version. I have the packaging, but it's a big giant box and I don't want to show it. Honeywell also makes a KN95 or a bifold style version like this. This is the H910 Plus. Very similar in terms of filtration, very similar in terms of performance. Filtration efficiency came a little bit lower. And I'll talk a little bit why that is. 96.9, but I mean, arguably we're pretty dang good here. 0.36 pressure drop. It has this foam seal on the inside, which one would think would make it a better option, but I found that the combination of nose wire plus foam, I had a little bit of sculptability issue on the nose. So, it's a headband mask. And it's basically the exact same size as that. So if you run across these, they're also a good option. I think I prefer the 3M though. They're a little bit nicer. They also offer it available in a KN series. Again, I could find no difference between the KN versus the NIOSH N95. But whatever you like. If you like the NIOSH N95, go for it. Now, I know some people have been looking about NIOSH N95 for smaller faces, and I kind of stumbled across these, but these are the Dobu mask. Now, these come out of South Korea, but they are in NIOSH N95. This is basically like a bifold mask. What is noticeable about it is that, let's take the 3M, where did I put that 9502? Here's that 9502. So if we compare, you can see that this mask is actually smaller than the 3M mask. So if PowComms have been big on you, or you need something a little bit smaller, this is an option. Now this mask, the Dobu 201 is what this one is, came in at 98.2, 0.41 pressure drops, a little higher than I'd like, but it's a little bit small, just a tiny bit smaller than the 3M. And it definitely has a much shorter projection on it. So that's another option if you're looking for smaller, but if even those seem big, I think the coolest one is this Dobu 500. Now this came, again, South Korea, but it's a NIOSH N95. They have this like internal structure on side the mask that keeps it from collapsing to your face, and there's actually no nose wire. But unfortunately, my results, I had to held it to my face. I got 98.9%, 0.33 inch pressure drop, so really good media. It's just tiny. I mean, it's just a tiny little mask. It does not fit my face because my face is too big. So if you've been looking at NIOSH N95s and you're like, man, they're all too big for me, this might be one that's kind of readily available. Now, there are, of course, a ton of NIOSH N95s that are coming online, which is awesome. But in general, I'm not going to review them all. I don't have time to review them all. And I think there's not really, my point was like in the beginning, we couldn't find anything. We have lots of options now. I don't think, now it's just coming down to what do you like and what do you prefer. So those are options. So I also got some US made masks tested that I know a lot of people have been interested in. So I have the United States mask. Now this is a US-based company. They had an article about no one was buying N95 from them. Hopefully that's been solved and they turned them back online. Someone had sent me this one. As worn, came in at 98.9%. It's a bigger mask than the other ones. The problem with the United States mask, my opinion, is good filtration. I mean, good filtration efficiency, but the pressure drop is pretty bad at 0.7 inches of water, almost twice as hard to breathe in as the 3M version. And it's noticeable. You notice when I breathe in, it just immediately sucks to my face. Again, this is the test board that's added by me. But they have a really great nose wire, so I'll give them that. So great nose wire, but breathability, not so great. Same thing with the Luvmed. I just tested this one today. This is the Aidway Personal Luvmed. This is a NIOSH N95, both bifold style. Got great filtration efficiency, 99.7% filtration efficiency. Good nose clip on, like a nice heavy metal external nose clip. This one is, a little bit, this one's a big mask at 165. This is actually really quite big. But again, great filtration efficiency, but it came at the cost of pressure drop, 0.62 inches of water. So they 3M really has better media than them. And so is it protective? Yes. Is it breathable? It's taking a penalty there. So not necessarily one that I work. But I'll save the best for last. Now, one that really blew my mind that I thought was the most, I didn't know how to stand it. This is the Kimberly Clark N95. Now, this is, some people call them Duckbill style masks. I'll try it on here and you'll get to see what I'm talking about. It has a monstrous nose wire, but it looks utterly ridiculous. Now, why am I talking about it? Just because it's just silly looking? The pressure drop on this mask is unbelievably low. If I didn't care about looks at all and I was looking for breathability in an N95, other than like, let's say the Airgami, and I've heard some other people talk about some like the Airwave, the Moldex Airwave. I'm not going to have time to test that, but this one's really cheap too, like $2 a pop. Although we're seeing N95s come down in price in general as well. So this is the Kimberly Clark Duckbill, 97% filtration efficiency, 0.15 inch of water. I'm not sure how to measure it because it's a weird shape. It fits my face wonderfully. It's super breathable. That's. If you don't care about looks and you don't care about looking like a quack, quack, quack duck, it's a really, really, really breathable mask. So I included in today's kind of mask reviews of kind of the better masks. I thought it was really unique. If I didn't care about fashion, I was like, look, I just need something and it doesn't like muffle your voice or anything like that. Yeah, it's really interesting. Really good filtration efficiency on it, good media. I think robustness, this kind of elastomeric stuff is, it's okay. I think robustness might be a little bit of an issue with these, but, it's pretty dang cool design. I gotta give him credit for that. All right, you might notice a slight edit there. You might be wondering what happened to all the rest of the masks, Aaron, and why haven't you reviewed them? Well, they're all right here in this bag, and basically, I don't have time to necessarily review them all. All that information is available in the Google Drive link. I tested a ton of masks from La Hatier, from Good Day, like Good Life, Everyday Good Life or something like that, Product Lab, Ilwool, all kinds more masks. Take a look at the Google Drive, you'll see them. There's tons of masks. They're all, fairly similar in terms of pressure drop and performance, but they're all great options. So depending on what your budget is or what you can get your hands on at that time. Now you might be also wondering, what about the Korean bifold, Aaron? I saw a bunch of test data. So the issue with Korean bifolds is they're great media, they're good media, but the problem is they don't normally fit my face. So things like the Atiqua Large here, right? So this mask, a lot of these were coming in for me in the low 90s because I had a lot of leakage, and that's really because the Korean bifolds, and you maybe seen me mention this before, is that the Korean bifolds, they don't have a continuous thing under your chin. So when you talk and move your mouth, you just have a hard time getting a seal. And if I can't get a good seal, then more than likely other people have a hard time getting a seal on these masks as well. So I tested all of them from Air and Atiqua. That data is available below. You can see the pressure drop data and all that stuff there. I'm just not going to spend a ton of time reviewing them because I'm not going to recommend them right now. For if they don't fit me, then there's also maybe other people they don't fit. Doesn't mean you can't try them to see if they fit you. They do have a lot of sizes: small, medium, large, round face, non-round face. So they definitely are trying to cover the bases. But in general, what I found is that they are a little bit on the lower side. The boat seemed to fit a wider variety of faces. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for hanging around for this mask review video. Now, let's just let you know, you're probably not going to hear a lot more from me. I'm going to slow down my testing, like I said before. I got to get back to regular life here. There's a ton of masks out there, so there's great options. I feel like what I'm doing now is probably not as valuable as it was a few months ago, but I wanted to finish this project off. Now, there will be a survey, so if you made it this far, you're a mask nerd. So there will be, keep your eye out, subscribe to the Mask Nerd or to the Instagram at Mask Nerd or Twitter at Mask Nerd. I'm going to put out a survey form where people can put in face dimensions. I'm going to have you measure easily, and the mask that you think fit you the face the best. And we're going to try to use some analytics or machine learning to try to figure out what facial dimensions are critical, so that going forward, you can just measure some key face points in your face, put it into the database, and it'll spit out some masks that'll fit you. So keep an eye on that. I also want to say a huge thanks to my wife, Gina, for letting me spend so much time over the last 5 months obsessing about masks, talking with strangers on the internet about masks, talking into a camera about masks. So I just want to say a huge thanks to her for letting me do this, and hopefully this contributed in a meaningful way to the world. I'm going to probably slow down the mask testing. However, if you keep an eye in that Google Drive link, you might see some new masks that get tested. I'll be looking at some KF80s, really just looking for breathable masks more so. You might see some live streams pop up every now and then. If I do a test, I'll throw it on the live stream because it's just an easy way to document it as well. But that means that you probably won't see a lot of these long-form mask review videos, so I hope you enjoyed them while they were here. Now remember, you can of course like and subscribe, but you might see bike videos, and hopefully very soon. So just aware of that. As usual, any comments, I'll still work on the comment section. You'll see that I have the Instagram and the social media side. I'm going to try to turn this into digestible bits, 1-minute videos to kind of cover some of these topics in a quicker way. We're almost to the end, and a lot of people are going to get their vaccine soon, so let's try to keep them from getting COVID to the point that they get the vaccine. We're really close, and there's a lot of masks, and they're cheap, and they're widely available, so I'll be spending a little bit of time doing that. So I want to say thank you to everyone that has sent me masks, has helped volunteer on this work. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been a fun and a little project to kick off. I think we did some good in the world. Thanks for being a mask nerd. Thanks for contributing and probably sharing your mask nerdness with those around you. And I hope that, I hope that we see each other in the real world sometime. So I just want to say huge thanks to everybody that helped contribute, everyone that sent masks. It really means a lot to me. It's been fun. And normally I'll say I keep you on the next video, but I'm not sure when that's going to be. So we'll say it anyways, just for a good time. So I'll see you on the next video, if it ever happens. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.